So this is my site, LSAT blog. I've got study schedules. They're one of my most popular things on the site. I have various study schedules for all different time periods from 1 month through 7 months, plus a retake schedule as well. As for how to prep, I recommend a few different phases of prep where you basically are doing a combination of untimed work and timed work. Specifically, I recommend what I call the laser approach, and I'll type that in the chat, laser. Laser is learning, basically using textbooks, learning the basics, just kind of reading material on different sections, different question types. So that's learning is the first part. Next is accuracy, where you're doing individual questions, untimed, perhaps by type, to give yourself a chance to get the questions right. Just accuracy, untimed, as long as it takes, whatever it is, focus on that, untimed. Next is individual timed sections. Timed 35 minutes, unless you have accommodations, in which case it might be 53 minutes or 70 minutes, depending. But for most people, 35 minutes, individual timed sections, strictly timed to focus on your pacing. Next is endurance, full-length, 5-section timed exams. That is incredibly important and is often overlooked. So 5 sections, not 4. Those books of LSATs I showed you, they only contain 4 sections because they're not going to publish the experimental section. They're saving that for a future LSAT test date. They're not giving it to you in the published form. So what you want to do instead is simulate it on your own. So let's say you're doing exams 83, 84, 85, and 86 as full-length timed exams. You could take sections from exam 82 and divide that exam into 4 parts and splice in each one of those 4 parts into exams 83, 84, 85, and 86. Then later, tally your results for 82 to see what it might have been had you taken it as a full-length timed exam separately. But endurance, often overlooked, incredibly important. So we've got learning, building the foundation, accuracy, untimed question work individually, sections, individual timed 35-minute sections, then endurance, full-length 5-section timed exams. Finally is R4 review. Review is after you do the exams, whether they're sections or full-length timed exams, doesn't matter. Review in excruciating detail everything you got wrong and everything you had difficulty with. You might want to rate your confidence level as you work through sections. Rate your confidence on what you're choosing for each question on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being you had no clue and you were guessing altogether. 10 being you were super confident, you would bet your life on it. The only thing I would say is don't allow yourself to choose the number 7, because 7 is a cop-out where you're saying, I was pretty good, but not that confident, but kind of in between. That's a so-so wishy-washy answer. No 7s. Either 6, you were kind of guessing and unsure, or 8, you were fairly confident. But you rate your confidence on your first go through timed, then your second go through perhaps untimed, so you can see, was timing the issue, was understanding the issue, were you just guessing and getting lucky, or guessing and getting unlucky? It's worth figuring that out. Then afterwards, I would suggest that you articulate your review process, what you were thinking in the moment. If your misunderstanding was in the stimulus or the question stem or the choices. If it was the stimulus, maybe you didn't fully understand the method of reasoning. Maybe you didn't know what was evidence, what was conclusion. If it was the question stem, maybe you had trouble identifying the question stem type because they can sometimes use unfamiliar wording. So get a handle on that. If it was in the answer choices, what was tempting about the wrong answer that made you pick it, and what ultimately makes it wrong? And what was discouraging about the right answer choice that pushed you away from it, and what ultimately makes it correct? You want to do that again and again and again until you can see the patterns in your mistakes, whether it's reading the stimulus too quickly and not slowing down and taking the time to thoroughly understand it, or unfamiliar question stem wording, or the answer choices. I find that oftentimes it's either the answer choices where there's traps of encouragement towards the wrong answer and traps of discouragement away from the right answer, or people just read the stimulus too quickly. A lot of times you read the stimulus and you say, that was confusing, I don't really get it. You skip ahead to the answer choices hoping they will clear it up for you. But in fact, they only further confuse you and complicate things, because the answer choices only make sense in the context of the stimulus. If you don't get the stimulus, the answer choices won't make a whole lot of sense. They probably won't lead you in the right direction. So it's worth taking the time to slow down and read the stimulus thoroughly. What's evidence? What's conclusion? Look for your indicator words. Evaluate the reasoning for yourself first. Potentially pre-phrase, if you can, depending on the question type. Then go on to the answer choices.